Welcome to the Spreecast. Can you hear me? If you can, could you please type something in the little box? And I'll invite Anne Thomas to come on camera. And I've invited Maricat to come on camera. And Leanne, although you may not have cameras. Yay, you can hear. Great. Thank you, Maricat. Excellent. We've got Leanne coming in. We have 2 more visitors who aren't saying who they are. How exciting. Great. Thank you, Anne. Glad you can hear. I apologize for the technical difficulties and changing the link on you at the last minute. I have no idea what happened there. This is only the second time I've done a Spreecast, so I was a little confused. What I'd like to suggest, if it's okay with you, is to just give it a couple of minutes in case some people are wondering what's happened and trying to show up on this link. In the meantime, though, I'm going to give you a preview that might strike you as a little weird. You're going to be using music and dance and visual imagery to learn the national anthem. So while we're waiting for the others to show up, I'd like to go ahead and show you how that might look. Let me check. Is that okay with you? And even if it looks completely crazy, will you promise to stick around? Let me know if it's okay with you to stick around. Yay! Okay, excellent. Thank you. Here we go. Let's play that anthem. Okay, did that look completely bad to you? I hope so. Okay, let's do a quick technical check. Can you, especially if you go to full screen, can you see the flip chart? Okay, I'm going to take no answer for a yes. You will need, for this Spreecast, a big piece of paper, unlined preferably. It's okay if you've got smaller pieces taped together, like a few sheets of A4, that'll work. But you need the equivalent of a big piece of paper and colored pencils or pens or markers, something that you can draw with. So if you don't have those, please scurry and get them now. I'd also like to do a quick check in terms of feeling confident that you can learn the words in Maori to the New Zealand national anthem in time for Wembley as it is right now. How confident do you feel on a 1 to 10 scale, where 1 is, I am very concerned, and 10 is, I've got it? Where are you on a 1 to 10 scale? If you could just type your answer, please, that would be great. 7 or 8. Ooh, go, yeah. Who else? Ooh, got a yes. Okay, I'll ask you again at the end. Right, here's where we're going. Our aim is, you can see a Kiwi up here. We are going to, by the end of this Spreecast, make sure that you have the basic sounds in the right order. for the New Zealand national anthem. Now, you won't by that point be perfect with it. You won't be in a position where you won't need to practice at all, and you still will need practice, and especially working on the vowels and shaping the sounds. But you will have the bones of the anthem in place, I promise you. So here's what we're doing. We are, our agenda, this is your brain. We are going to use tools that your brain loves. I work a lot with accelerated learning, so I know lots of tools and tips to help you learn and really soak up information as quickly as possible. We are then going to take the anthem step by step, right up to the kiwi. So step by step, we will build it up together in these building blocks using these tools so that you will have the anthem in place. Now, as I say, I do a lot with accelerated learning. My name is Resli Costabel, and I work all over the world as a keynote speaker and as a trainer. The trainer part helps me to train you. That's kind of obvious. The speaker part is a little less obvious. I'm dyslexic, and it means I have real trouble remembering sequences of things. But when I'm doing a keynote, I might need to remember like 60 or 90 minutes worth of material without notes. So I've devised all sorts of ways myself. So I'm thinking if I, dyslexic, can learn 60 or 90 minutes with no notes, no PowerPoint prompts, no nothing, you can learn a 60-second song in Maori. So we're going to play with this. The way we're going to do it, some of the principles of, sorry, I'm getting used to this camera because I've moved it around some. Some of the principles of accelerated learning. You're going to be doing lots of active engagement. So you're going to draw, you're going to dance, sing, adapt it so it works better for you. And we will do our own haka, our own dance for this anthem. You won't have to do it at Wembley. This is just to help it get into your brain. And I promise you it will work. In terms of adapting, I'm going to show you the tools and how I use them, but feel free to change it. Use it so that it works better for you. If you've got an idea and you're thinking, why didn't she do this? This is so much better. Do it. I'm not showing you the one right way. I'm showing you one way that works. We're also going to use repetition. Repetition has been shown by lots of research, particularly Rock and Schwartz, to be very effective for learning. We'll make it into a story because your brain seems hardwired to like stories or narratives. So we will be taking what at the moment might seem like it's a very beautiful song, but it can seem like a stream of disjointed vowel sounds. We're going to pull them together so they make a story and are very easy to remember. Your brain remembers images. Who can tell? Can you tell what that is? Any ideas? Type it if you can tell what it is. That's my signature. Terrible, isn't it? But have you ever noticed how, if you are, say you show up for something, you know you're on the guest list, and there you are reading upside down, trying to spot your name. And it can be quite difficult. You thought it was the signature. Ah, you're good, Mary Cat. And it's quite hard to spot your name upside down if it's typed. But if it's your signature, like in a visitor book, you can spot it just straight away, can't you? That's because your brain remembers images better than words. And the problem is, if you just listen to it by trying to repeat it over and over, you're pretty much trying to learn words. We're going to make it into images, which makes it so much easier to remember the whole thing. We're going to have emotional impact. That's what the little heart is. If you think about all the car journeys you've had, I bet you can't remember many of them at all, but I bet you can remember every one where you've dinged the car because it had emotional impact. People remember emotional impact. So we're going to have emotional impact. And listen, guys, I need to warn you what this means. In order to create emotional impact, sometimes it's going to be a bit politically incorrect or a bit startling or otherwise unsuitable for small children. You have been warned. We're also going to use repetition. And we're going to make it multi-sensory. So when you're doing your drawing with your pens and pencils, please make it colorful as you can. As we go, type any questions that you have. And just to let you know a little more about the multi-sensory, what we've been doing with a lot of the music and what you may have been doing on your own is we use our visual sense because we might be looking at the words on the page. We use our ears because we're listening. We don't use our kinesthetic sense at all. We're not really touching much or moving in a meaningful way, maybe just a little bit of light bopping. And it's very much what we call auditory digital. Auditory digital means just words. If you've ever tried to memorize a page of writing, you know that that's quite difficult. If you've ever tried to memorize a poem, you know it can be a challenge, but it's easier. And if you've ever sung along to Hotel California and you know all the words, but you never even tried to learn it, you just kind of learned it. That's because instead of it being just words, you had lots of other senses involved. So it wasn't just auditory digital. The way we're going to learn in this spreecast, we're going to use your visual sense twice as much because we'll be using not just the written word, but the images. We'll be using your ears twice as much because you are going to be listening for very different things in this song. It will never be the same. We're also going to be using the kinesthetic sense, your feeling and movement. And if you're ever the kind of kid who is kind of squirmy in school and restless and distracted, this is perfect for you because this works with how you learn. And we won't be doing much of the auditory digital at all. As we go, as I say, please type questions. How does that sound before we get roaring in? Sound as if it could be useful? Type and let me know. Trying to scroll and see what sounds good. Okay, excellent. Hey, Fiona, welcome. Fiona, you might wonder what's going on because you missed the first part. That's okay, you'll catch up. So we're going to start by taking this anthem apart. Get out your pens, please. And the first thing you might need a bit of green pen. Bit of yellow if you've got it. I'm going to draw an ambulance. And the ambulance is facing to my left. And let's see, get lots of yellow. So go ahead and draw yourself an ambulance. I might put a little siren on top. Yeah, and some go faster stripes. So there is our ambulance. Okay, folks, could you please type for me and tell me where does an ambulance go? Actually, I'm going to invite somebody on screen. I'll invite Leah Ann on screen. Well, that hasn't worked the way I thought it would. Where does an ambulance go? Speak to me, people. Hospital, yeah. Which department in the hospital? You know this. A and E. Very good. It goes to A and E. Do you remember the first sounds of the anthem? Let's listen to it. AE, so we've got our AE going. So that is how you can remember the AE, the first sound. Now we go into OA. So the next sound is, what you're going to draw is the ambulance has just run over something. Oh no! It has run over a hoe in the road. So it's broken. I'm going to draw a broken hoe, something that looks like this. But if you want to make it more memorable, you can draw whatever kind of hoe you want. And I live in South London. There's loads of hoes here. There's all kinds. But I'm going to draw one that's a little more child-friendly. So draw yourself a hoe that this audience has run over. Oh, poor hoe, it's broken. And holding on to that hoe, mysteriously, you can just see his arm and then his face. I'm going to draw the face of a Japanese man. A Japanese man, just the face. This is where it gets extremely politically incorrect. Why a Japanese man? Because when I was working in Japan, I kept hearing about the wa. The wa means the sense of community, the sense of everyone getting along well together. You didn't ever want to upset the wa. When I think of Japan, I think of wa. E-ho-wa. Now, the strange thing about this Japanese man is his body. Because his body is that of a character in Star Wars. It's one of the robots. It's not C-3PO, but the other one. Type it if you know who it is. There's little rollers, and the head's sort of a hatch thing going on. Do you know who it is? What the name of that robot is? Not C-3PO, but R2-D2. It doesn't matter if you don't know what R2-D2 looks like. I don't know what R2-D2 looks like, but for me, this is R2-D2. So it's going to remind me of R2-D2. So where we are now with our anthem, we are linking these together. If you run out of paper or need to change over, remember, just make sure there's a link. And by the way, it's perfectly acceptable to link bits of paper with just a chunk of sellotape. You can just stick them together. But if it needs to be different sheets, just create some sort of link across the pages. If the images are separate, they're harder to remember in sequence. So we're making sure they tie in. So the A&E ambulance has run over the hoe, which is held by the Japanese man who has the body of R2-D2. In the middle of that body, and you might think this is strange, is a big eyeball. So go ahead and draw yourself a nice eyeball in there. While you do that, I'm checking for any questions on the scroll. You've got this eyeball. What sound do you think I might make? That's right. E-ho-wa-atu-ai. Now this eyeball belongs to a man who looks kind of Moroccan in appearance because you get him hair on part of his head, but just one eye for now. Because he reminds me of this man I met in Morocco. And this man, I think his name was Omar, like Omar Sharif. But the man I met, his name was Omar, but he talked really funny. And it wasn't because that's how he spoke. It wasn't a speech impediment or a difficulty he had. I think he just kind of put it on, like his equivalent of a Mockney accent. So Omar would talk like this. I think he thought it made him really attractive to women. I think he was wrong. But the next sound is Ona. Ona. And Ona's other eye. You can draw Ona's other eye now. Onar shares his other eye with this funny little creature. Do you remember? I don't know. I was on a Star Wars theme when I developed this little spreecast. But do you remember also in Star Wars there were those little bitty? I don't know if they were furry or they wore cloaks, but it looked like a little miniature Chewbacca. Do you remember those little kind of things? Remember what they were called? Something walk. Type it if you know what they were called. A something walk. You were an Ewok. So make that eye part of an Ewok's eye. Now again, I have no idea how an Ewok really looks, but this is just, I've decided this is an Ewok. I'm going to give it little ears and a hood, little Ewoky feet. That's an Ewok. And this Ewok is, it's embarrassed, frankly, because this Ewok, see, it got some problems with consonants. And the Ewok, it's done a small wee. So make sure you draw a little puddle under your Ewok. Oh, how embarrassing for the Ewok. Don't you hate it when that happens? Check out where we are now with the sounds. Let's listen to it from, see if I can get it to just about the start of the words. Now remember, we've got A, O, A, Tu, I, O, Ma, I, We. Got it? A, O, Wa, A, Tu, I. And that I belongs to my friend Ona, and he shares it with an E walk that's done a we. Listen to the song. Let me do a quick check with you. Is this making sense? Guys, this is really hard because I'm getting no feedback of any sort from you. Please type to me. I can't tell what. Oh, good. Yes and no. Tell me what's confusing. And other people can write in as well. Merit cat. What's confusing? Ah, okay. Fantastic. Then you may have different symbols or different images or better ways to remember it, in which case, go with whatever works for you. Okay. I love that Merit Cat can read phonetic transcriptions. Does that sounds okay to you? Okay, excellent. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, let's scamper onwards. So we have a iwi, and then something interesting has happened. You can draw a big boot in this puddle because someone unfortunately has stepped in this and is not happy about it. Don't draw the arms yet, but you can draw the rest of the person. You are drawing a rapper, a South London rapper. So there's our rapper. I'm going to give him a sideways hat. Big gold chain. No arms yet. Oh, we'll give him shades too. Now the rapper is holding something. He's holding a copy of the Torah. Yes, the Torah. It's because he's a Jewish rapper. The reason we know he's Jewish is he's holding the Torah. The reason we know he's a rapper is because anybody else would say, my Torah, but he doesn't. He's a rapper, so he says, my Torah. Iwi ma Torah. If you want, you can draw your arms on now to show that your rapper is holding the Torah. Now, the Torah, if you look closely, you can see something drawn on it, because the Torah, of course, is a very ancient script. And on this ancient script is drawn an ancient artifact. And I'm going to use a skull to represent an artifact. So this amazing artifact so draw your skull or some other artifact, doesn't matter. And the interesting thing about this skull is instead of having like femurs below it, crossed below it, this skull has drumsticks. And naturally, when you have drumsticks, you usually have a drum. So, oops, one more person in there. Fantastic. Oh, I can see Leanne. Excellent. Hello, Leanne. So the drum. Go ahead, draw yourself a drum under your drumsticks, please. And I'll give it little, just in the spirit of making it as colorful and vivid as possible, I'm doing the little cross hatchings on it. By the way, I hope I'm a role model for the fact that artistic ability does not matter at all. Okay, here's your chance. Could you please name a famous drummer from the Beatles? Can you think of a drummer who is in the Beatles? If you can, please type the name so I can see it. I can think of one. Ringo Starr. Now this is where we can't be too literal because the song does not actually say Ringo Starr. The song says Rango Na. And if it helps, you can think Rango, and you can think of Ringo Starr going, nah. I find for me, it's enough just to remember Rango Na, Ringo Starr. So that's what the drum kit reminds me of. Let's go back and see if you can. We're going to do this along with the music. See if you can look at the images you've written and let them remind you of what the sounds are. So quick review before we do that. We have, do you remember what the first one is? A, ho, wa, and he has the body of R2. In the middle of R2 is a big I. And that I belongs to my friend in Morocco. Ona. Ehoa R2I. Ona. E for the Ewok. And the Ewok's done a we. Matora. Then we have Artefaka Rangona. Now that's the clean version. I'm afraid what the group yesterday got into, I pointed out that Ringo Starr has a history of wearing caftans and being quite artistic. And he's really, he's an arty so-and-so, Ringo Starr. So some people are remembering Ate Whaka Rango Na. If that works for you, do it. So let's see if you can follow along using what you've drawn with the sounds. Sing along with it if you can. Let me get back to the right place. Okay. Let me check. Are you finding it easier? Do you think you'll find it easier to remember now that you're connecting these images together? Oh, I've finally seen the scroll. Sorry, I'm just running through and finding some questions. You have a cat named Ringo. Okay, wonderful. Fiona, you say Gram Sheet shows not I. I may have changed things around a little. Do whatever works for you. I am so making this up as I go. There isn't a correct way. But here's what I do want to show you, which is the dance. Now, what I'm going to invite you to do is stand up, because you're going to join me in this. And I promise you, this is one of those where if you sit down and watch and go, yeah, I get it, you won't learn as much. I cannot see you. That's why it's really difficult. So you need to stand up in order to really embed the learning. If you have any sort of disability so you can't stand up, go ahead, do your best sitting down. You'll still be able to learn lots. You'll learn more if you stand up. And I am going to make a complete fool of myself for a change by showing you the haka. Now, this is not any haka that the All Blacks would recognize. This is a haka for remembering the images, because for some people, the visual images will be really good. For some people, the movement, the dancing will be good. And for a lot of people, put them both together and it's magic. So no, sorry, technical difficulties. A&E, first of all, I think of myself ready to drive an ambulance. So get down like this, like you're driving an ambulance. Knees bent, arms out. By the way, I know you can only see me down to the hips, but please just deal with it. We're just trying to do this as best we can. So A&E. A. And now you've got to do your ho. A, ho. And then for Japanese, I do wa. Don't know if you can see that. Wa. You do it however you want. It doesn't matter. So A, ho, wa. For R2D2, I kind of go, I've got two fingers going. R2, I. Then I put my arm around my friend Oma. Ona. Ona. And remember, Oma shares and I with that nasty iwi that's made a mess. Ona iwi. And now I become the rapper, shaking my foot to get it off. Yuck! Matora. And I found the artifact. Artifact. And I go into drumming. Rangona. Go on, try it with me. Let's do it again. That's okay. There's no one watching you. Even I can't see you. Let's do it with the music. I'll turn it up a bit. Get ready. Is my artifact? It's ridiculous, isn't it? Okay, how are you doing with that? Fantastic. It works. Yay! Fantastic. Okay. I'm going to need to change to another sheet. So, in order to do this, I'm going to make a link across the sheets. Some way to do that. Now, the next part is we have lots of ribbons coming down off this drum kit. So I'll just make one of the ribbons flow off onto the next page. So you can go ahead and draw lots of colorful ribbons on your drum kit. Ah, Merit Cat, it works better than the images. Fabulous. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Different things work for different people. And if something works for you, then that's right. It's not about correct and incorrect at all. And it's certainly not about how well you can dance or draw, as you can tell. So I'll give you a moment while I swap paper around to tidy up any drawings you may want. Hey, and while we do, sing along if you can. So there we have the edge of the piece of paper where I ran out. And we have one of the ribbons that comes over here, just flows nicely onto this piece of paper. And we can see that this ribbon is attached to a baby of all things. I wouldn't have expected that. So please draw yourself a little baby. Aww. And if you're like most people, as soon as you see a baby, you say, aww. I know it looks like the baby fell over, but that's just how this baby's going to look. All these ribbons, they're a maypole. You know what a maypole is? 1st of May, where in merry old England, the maidens would dance around the maypole. In fact, just remember, let me put a pole down the middle of the maypole so it's not all ribbon. There we go. So what kind of pole is it? It's a maypole. So your next sound is may. Atafaka rangona. May. And you see the baby and say, ah. May, ah. And then the funky thing is, not only has this baby fallen, but it's fallen into a small boat propelled by oars. So please don't draw anyone else in the boat yet, but you can draw a boat that's bigger than the baby. Needs to be room for somebody else. There's our boat. And it has a couple of oars. What kind of boat is it? What kind of boat is small and has oars? A rowboat! Yeah, it is a rowboat. Our next sound is row. May I row. And now we get very Christmassy. We're going to draw the big red hat. Now, you know who wears a big red hat at Christmas. Well, maybe you do. I guess it depends on what you were brought up with. Where I grew up, there's somebody who wore a big red hat with sort of fur around the edges. And yes, Father Christmas. What does Father Christmas say? Oh, whoa, oh. Okay, I know Father Christmas says ho, but this Father Christmas says ha, ha, ha. Oh gosh, I just realized I could have used a picture from Delilah to remind you of ha. Draw whatever you want. Draw Tom Jones, draw a Santa hat, draw something or somebody at the end of that rowboat that's going to remind you ha, ha, ha. So we have me, aloha. And next to this, we've got this little bitty rowboat. Next to it, there's a big boat. This is massive. Check it out. Draw yourself a huge boat. Don't draw any water yet. Just draw yourself a big old boat. This is the kind of boat you would have if it had been raining for 40 days and 40 nights. And I'm going to draw a couple of giraffes up here just to remind me. And you can draw yourself some giraffes if you like, or other animals. Just make sure to draw them in pairs, because that's going to help you remember who the owner of this ark is. And could you please type for me, who built an ark that had two of different animals, depending on the tradition in which you were raised? Oh, we're giving them little pink ears. These are gonna be happy little giraffes, even if they do look a little like our artifact skulls. Noah, very good. So we have Noah. Now, if you wish, you can go ahead and draw some orange waves underneath. We're going to come back to the waves, because you know a boat has to float. It can't just be, you can't have an ark in dry dock, people. So the boat is floating. But let us play with the choreography. And again, feel free to make up your own. This is just me making a fool of myself. This is not the correct way. So we've got, where did we get to? We got to Ringo Starr. Ringo, na, May. For that, I do a maypole, which looks like this. So prance around your maypole if you like. And then the baby, ah. And then I row the boat. And then, ah. Try it with me if you weren't already. Let's take it from Ringo Starr. Ringo na, May, ah, ro. Ha, 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 ha. And then for Noah, I just do the giraffe ears and kind of dance around a little. I messed up the tune there, but that doesn't really matter. Let's play with it from there. And you can do your own dance. So ready to dance? Ready and go. Okay, we're going to take it from the beginning. As much as you can, do the lyrics and do the dance by looking at the images you've drawn, or if you can remember them without looking, wonderful. And you'll get better and better and faster at just remembering the images. See if you can do the dance. And make sure to mess it up, because you'll learn just as much from your mistakes as from getting it right. Okay, ready? I'm going to turn up the sound. Okay, get ready to dance. How'd you do? Could you remember any of it? Because if you did, you're a genius. I'm enjoying the comments that come up. Yay, I got a yay. Okay, fantastic. Now you may be wondering, what is this orange gunk in which Noah is floating? And I'm going to take that onto the next page. So the way I'm going to do that is we've got all this flowing water. I'll just flow it over onto the next page. There we go. Still flowing, still flowing. And the thing is, what? Oh, sorry. There's the water. Oh, hang on. Let me throw the arc over here. Ooh, I'll play a little music while I do this, give you a chance to tidy up your drawing. Kia hua gote pai. How are we going to remember that? Here's how I remember it. First, we have a can of drink. Do you remember the old Kia Ora drink you used to be able to get? That's what we've got. So you can draw yourself some Kia. Because that arc is just floating in gallons and gallons of Kia Ora. This little rainbow. And the Kia Ora is dripping down. And by the way, this idea is completely ripped off from Jane Mitchell. It's dripping down on, and you're going to draw Doctor Who, but he's pregnant, so leave space for the baby. I'm going to draw Doctor Who. I'm going to give him a neck and a body, big round belly, some legs. You always said that, I think he had a long stripy scarf. So I'm going to give him a long stripy scarf. I'm going to put some orange in it as well, because that makes it easier to tie in with the dripping Kia Ora. But you can do it however you want. Just the more links you make between the images, the easier it will be to remember them in sequence. Oh my gosh, I've drawn it over his head instead of around his neck. What am I thinking? Kia-hoo. Then we've got the sound ah. That calls for another baby. That's why we've got a little room for a baby in here. Ah, little baby. Aw, isn't it cute? There we go. Okay, it's not. It's kind of deformed, but still. They all need love. Check out the music. Now, you may be asking yourself, Doctor Who? Pregnant? How did Doctor Who get pregnant? Was that in a bus shelter? No, it was not in a bus shelter. But I tell you what, and this is good gossip. You can tell anybody. I'll tell you where Doctor Who got pregnant. Doctor Who got pregnant. Not behind a bus shelter, but behind this. There's this company. You can even see the company name. Go ahead and draw yourself a building. And at this building, they well, what this company does is it specializes in food for Yorkshiremen. I know that seems a bit like a niche market, but they do. And the food they specialize in, there are two things. The first one is tea, or as they say in Yorkshire, tea. So I'm going to draw myself a little cup of tea. You can draw yourself some tea. We'll get some steam coming off it. Oh, yeah. Tea. And next to that, you'll need a pie, because that co sells tea and pie. Go tea pie. Yummy, yummy. Let's play with some choreography. Here's what I do. Kia, who, if you're not standing up and dancing, get up, please. Who, I'm going to wrap my scarf, and that goes right into the ah. So you link them together. Kia, who, ah. And where did he get pregnant? Now, in order to keep it clean, I'm not going to act out the whole pregnancy too carefully, but he got pregnant behind the cote pie, so I'm just going to hold a cup of tea and sort of coochie coo over towards that company where he got pregnant. I know. It's a scandal, isn't it? So could you please leap to your feet, get ready to dance. We're going to take it from the beginning. See how much you can mess up. See how much you can remember. You can use the dance. You can use the images. It's okay to look at the images. You'll find you look at them less as we go. Ready? Okay, I'm going to crank up the music. How'd you do? Actually, I shouldn't have cut it off then. Let's listen to that next little bit. I showed you the next bit. Now let me show you on the flip chart. Here's how it goes. So Kia hua kote pai. And there's even more juice coming down because it takes a whole lot of kia to float an arc. So let yourself draw another thing of kia ora. And tell you what, I'm going to go on to the next page. So if you're on one page, that's fine. There's not a correct way to do this. I think you've worked that out. I'm going to let this can of kia be on the next page. So I'll just put it right up here at the top. Dee, dee. While I draw, listen and follow along. There we go. Any questions? You need to let me know. I'm just checking through the scrolls for any questions or comments or anything. Okay, it looks like we're good to keep going. Let me type to me, please. How are you doing? Are you able to dance along or sing along and finding this useful? Or are you just thinking, this is completely mad? Please type me some comments so I know how you're doing. Okay. So the kia is now this. We've had an arc takes a lot of kia. So we've had some kia flowing down, and we've got the Doctor Who beneath it, pregnant. Got pregnant behind the Kote pie. And then this other can of kia, this one, is being licked up by a dog. And the dog is not just any dog. It's the one from The Wizard of Oz. Do you remember the name of the dog in The Wizard of Oz? I'm going to draw the dog while you tell me the name. See if you can get it. I think it was little Scotty. They don't really look like alligators, although this one does. Toto! Yeah, very good. Kia Tota. It's not exactly Toto. It's more like Tota, but gets you on track. And then you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Wesley, that's all very well, but I do not see how in the world a little dog could stay up there on that piece of paper drinking up the kia ora. What could possibly be holding it up? I'll tell you what's holding it up. It's an artifact. Let me see what color we did our artifact in before so I can... Where is it? Oh yeah, we used that color. Okay. I'm drawing a skeleton's hand. If you need to draw the same thing twice, like a cup of tea and then a cup of tea later, it's good if you make the cups of tea look quite alike. So I try to use the same colors. So we used this color earlier for the artifact, so I'm going to use this one again. The funny thing about this artifact, though, go ahead and draw your skull. Don't draw the body yet, though, please. Please don't draw the body, not yet. Oh, nice and creepy for Halloween. thing is, as you draw the body, you realize this isn't just a skull. This is a giant. So draw a giant's body that goes way down the page. Huge thing. Maybe not all the way to the bottom of the page, but pretty far down the page. You've got this giant, and a giant says what? Fee. What? Faux femme. Fee. Fi. Faux femme. Kia tota artefy. Now you're thinking, okay, so we've got the Kia ora dripping, and Toto's licking it up, and he's held up by the skeleton, and the skeleton is part of a giant, but what's holding up the giant? What's at the bottom of it all? What does it all really come down to? I'll tell you what it all comes down to. I'll tell you what this giant is standing on. Because here's what it's all about, people. This giant is standing on the biggest bar of chocolate you ever saw. It is manna. And if you have a different way of drawing manna, you go right ahead. But for me, we're talking chocolate, people. So we've got manna. Yeah. I'm going to play you a little music while you draw. Did you hear it? Let's dance it. Let's play a good size chant. So, do it your own way. The way that I do this part is yeah. Toto, I do a silly little dog look. Toto, ate. Remember finding that valuable artifact? Ate. And then I become very tall. Five. And then manna, it's like I'm picking up this glorious slab of chocolate towards my face. Woohoo! And you might notice in the manna, it's not just manna, it's mana. So you've got a few and that's okay. For me, I just think chocolate. Let's play that last little bit again. If you want to dance along with it, get in there. Ready? On your feet, folks. So how do I represent? It is completely mad. I agree. You're going to remember it, though, I bet. If it were tame, you wouldn't remember it. Manaki. Now for ki, I represent it with, it's an interesting sound because it's kind of a mixture of ki and k. Fortunately, there's a woman in America, this elderly woman who sells cosmetics. So I've given her big lips. I'm just going to draw her face, and she's going to have a very unusual hairstyle. But you can start by drawing a heavily made up face. Here she is, and she's got these bright blue eyes with lashes like tarantulas. Her name is Mary Kay. There's Mary Kay. And not only does she have blonde hair, but I'm going to give her a really strange hairstyle. Her hairstyle, it's going to remind me of a key. So it looks like she's got a key on her head, and that's how I represent that sound between key and K. Mary Kay with a key. Key. The way she's connected to this chocolate, she's grabbing it. Oh yeah, can't get enough. Oh, there's that arm out there slinging around that chocolate. Yeah. And her arm comes right out of her ear. Sorry, Mary. And with her other hand, mana. I want you to listen to this part carefully. Listen to the sound. Kichiamai. And I thought, how could I represent that? And then I thought, that'll work. So in one hand, she's got the chocolate, and in the other hand, she's got a bottle of Tia Maria. It's gonna be a good night in, people. So you can draw your Tia Maria in her other hand. It's quite fun to do the dance part, by the way, where you grab the bottle and drink from it. Let's listen to the sound. And then I have our friend the baby back here again. Ah, there's that cute little baby. Ah, ah. Because we're trying to decide, does the baby get the booze? Or are you going to give that baby a cup of tea? By the way, either way you answer this, I don't want you looking after my children. So draw yourself a cup of tea. Useful to use the same colors that you used before when you drew the tea. If you used tea. Now for the last bit, I did this yesterday with the group and it worked, I think it worked quite well. For the last bit, I want you to make up your own images and make up how you're going to link them to, you've got to a cup of tea. So let's listen to it. I'll turn the sound down since we're not dancing currently. Let me play that last bit again so you can hear it, come up with your own images. give you a moment to think and draw. I'm going to draw something which is not the correct answer. This is just for if you're stuck. I'm going to draw a lion, which is, as someone came up with yesterday, a roara. That lion is balancing the teacup on its head because it very cruelly has been put into a circus. Let me play it again while we draw. And again. How are you doing with this? Did you come up with something? I keep laughing at Pam's, it is completely mad. Pam, I know, you're right. So for this last bit, the way I dance it is, let's listen to it again. You can see, maybe you'll come up with your own dance as I play this. So we're going to run back to the beginning and sing the whole thing through, right from the start. Does that sound okay? We're going to sing it. We're going to dance it. If you find that focusing on the images works better for you than the dancing, then that's fine to focus on the images. If you're thinking, actually, the dance is where it's at, go for the dance. If you want to play with doing both, get in there. I'm going to have a quick drink of water before I die here. Oh, baby. Yep. Okay. So get up and dance. I'm going to turn up the sound. And we start with A and E. to do. Please type something and let me do. Lion's roar is better. I think it is too. Fiona, I'm not a kinesthetic learner, but the pictures work great for me. Terrific. Fiona, go for the pictures. I'm not that much of a kinesthetic learner as well. But I tell you what, it's somehow really easy for me to go straight from the Aroha into Noah, doing the giraffe ears. The nice thing about the giraffe ears is I know I can bounce around for a little while doing giraffe ears, so it tells me when to come in for the next bit. So it really works. Keep playing with it all and see what works for you. You got most of it. Pam, you star. Fabulous. Yay, Mad Cat. You are so good. Okay. Let us do you want to try it once without looking? Do you feel brave? Have a look now at the images you've drawn and the story you've created. So remind yourself that we start off with the ambulance going to A&E. Whoops. And it runs over a hoe, whatever kind of hoe you want. A-ho-ah. Then that little machine is called A2. Got a big I in the middle. It belongs to Ona. A2I. Ona. Who also shares an I with the iwi. Ona. Being stepped in by this annoying Jewish rapper. Matora. Iwi Matora. And he's holding an artifact. The artifact, remember, has drumsticks instead of crossbones. Artifact Arangana May. Where's my next sheet? Oh, wait, there I go. Sorry, folks, it's been a long day. May Aroha Noah. And you remember what Noah was floating in. Where's my other thing of Kia? I don't have it. It's one with Doctor Who. Oh well, you know who it is. So we've got our Kia falling on Hu A Kote Pai. And then we get into Kia Tota, the artifact, Artify Mana Kie Tiamaya Tero. Let's try it from the beginning. See how much you can get without looking at the images. And it's okay if you mess it up. I'm going to be messing it up. So, ready to roll? I'm going to turn up the sound. Everybody, get up. This is your chance to dance and sing. Or if you're the one if you're thinking, no, not the dancing. Okay, see if you can do it just using the images in your head. It's okay to mess it up. Ready? Start with accidents and emergency. Okay. Sorry, it's a beautiful song, but I'm going to cut it there. If those Kiwis only knew what we think, I know. And it's such a beautiful song, and I mean no disrespect at all. People, this is the clean version. I had another way of saying hoa that I don't even want to talk about. So I'm going to give you some home play. Home play, it's like homework, except it's fun. Here's your home play. First of all, some of what you've been doing is, in the tutorials, they'll ask you to listen to it and then sing it back. Then they do another section. You listen to it and then sing it back. You may find you remember it better if you add one more step to that. Instead of listen and sing it back, you start by singing it, then you listen, then you sing it back. So you try singing it on your own. You may make mistakes, that's fine. You listen to it so you hear your mistakes. You sing it again, cleaning up the errors. So listen, sing, listen. Next, when you draw your images, it's fine to use the images that you've drawn now in the way that you've drawn them now. Make sure that they've got connections between them. Make sure that you can tell what they are. It doesn't matter if anybody else can. Make sure the images are clear for you. But don't keep redrawing them, because what happens is, because our brain remembers images so well, and particularly hand-drawn images, because it's like the difference between a signature and typeface. It remembers them well with all their roughness and all their wobbly lines and all the bits that aren't quite right, but it's extremely memorable for your brain. And if you've been practicing using images that are quite roughly drawn, and then you redraw them and you make it really nice and better laid out and pretty, and you draw more carefully, you might find you don't remember it as well. And you have to do a lot of practice with your new set of images. So be kind of careful about not redrawing the images too many times. Next is, as you go, listen for nuances and corrections. As I've said, this just gives you a framework. This is not the finished product. We will need vowels to help do a lot of honing and polishing. So listen for the little nuances and corrections. And we learn well from mistakes. Your brain is geared up to attend to mistakes, so you do learn from them. But it doesn't feel very nice. What you also need to do is notice when you get it right. Maybe you noticed at some point, like early on, maybe you suddenly clicked, oh, A&E. Or I asked you lots of questions that you were probably going to be able to answer, like what's the name of the drummer in the Beatles? You knew it was Ringo. Even for an easy question like that, when you get it right, your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine, and that's the feel-good chemical. So you want to listen for the successes, because every time you spot one of those, you're going to get another little ooh on some little level. Think, oh, good, I got it. And it feels good, and that motivates you to keep on doing more and more. So listen for your successes as well. Celebrate those successes. Do this haka, do the dance, do a better one than the one I've come up with, to the extent that it is useful. And you don't have to do this, but it would be useful if you could give specific feedback to me, because I work a lot as a trainer, but it's only with the New Zealand national anthem that I have ever tried to train people remotely. And I'm aware that, we don't have the professional setup here. This is me in my sitting room with my flip chart. But any feedback you could give me would be really useful, so that I can get better at this, because I've already been informed that I'm probably going to be doing one for the Samoan national anthem as well. So let me know. If you wish, there is a Facebook group that I have. It's facebook.com/Resli, RESLI, Costabell, COSTABELL. It is not used for ads. It is not used for sales at all. It's all about psychology, applying the art and science of psychology to everyday life, because that's kind of the stuff I do. So if you want to join that, you may find more things on there that help with this or with other things. It's entirely optional. Next, the big challenge. The big challenge is, in addition to listening to the music and singing along, There are a few versions that have several verses, and most versions will have English and then Maori. Listen to the other verses, but keep singing what we've done. So keep singing the Maori. And if you're able to keep singing the Maori against someone else in English or against someone else doing a different verse in Maori, you will be very much building up your muscle for learning this in a way that really sticks. One last word about the images and about the dancing. With images, different people will have different images, and yesterday's group had different images from this one for various reasons. That's fine. You don't have to correct each other. It's just about what works for you. I mean, for this last bit on Aroha, I had Princess Aurora originally, the Disney princess. Just play with what works for you. Next, in terms of the dance, even if you're not a very physical learner and the images work well for you, here's why the dance is a good idea. When you have a lot of sensory input, or when you're nervous, the amygdala in your brain fires up. And at Wembley, I'm thinking you might be nervous and there'll be a lot of sensory input. So that bit's going to be firing up. And that bit takes some of the blood away from the neocortex, which is the really smart part, and puts it to your muscles. So if your muscles are already twitching and you're thinking, hey ho, if you've got that bit of muscle memory because you've been practicing the dance, you'll find it easier to remember, even if you might be a little nervous on the day. Right. That is all. I will stay on the line for a few moments in case anybody comes up with any more questions. Oh, I've just seen a couple of this. I look like I do this all the time? No, I don't. I've never done it before. And I tell you what, here's a secret. Because I'm used to training in front of, like I'll do a keynote in front of a few hundred people or a training group with 15 or 30, I'm used to working with the feedback, and I'm famous as a keynote speaker for being extremely interactive. I don't just read PowerPoint to people. I work with what's in the room. And it is so hard for me to have virtually no feedback and not be able to see what's going on. So I'd really appreciate any feedback you have. I'll stay on the line. I may wander off a little, but I will come back. So if you want to type something, I'll come back. And in the meantime, thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me practice. You're helping me remember the anthem too. And this has been completely mad, but really fun as well. Take care, people. Bye. Hey, I'll give you some music to play us out and to cover up the sound of me picking up markers. Oh, you couldn't see the Facebook page. Yep. And yes, I did just do that from memory. You'll be able to too. Just checking for questions. I wonder how it would sound with a Geordie accent. Jan, you're right. It's exactly like singing to yourself. Wondering who's listening. So I'm reading your comments. of the fight.
Mana kinyamai Aotearoa. God of nations,